3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to Sower in the States Football. Here are your hosts, the Taco Slayer Jorge and MLS Card Guy Chris.
Oh, welcome back to another episode of Sower in the States. Chris, the MLS Card Guy, is here with me as always. Congratulations to Columbus Crew for winning MLS Cup. Hey, we were at MLS Cup. Shout out to Sower for sending us out there. I didn't get a t-shirt, but I did get the sickness. So, hey, this is a little delayed, but we're getting there. Hey, Chris, you know who else was at MLS Cup, though? Hey, if you were on YouTube, you've already been spoiled. You already know. But we have with us an MLS writer over at SBI Soccer. He has been all over the place with Area Sports Network. Favian Renkel, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Man, what an introduction. Thank you. I appreciate
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah, I mean, I was at MLS Cup. I was going to meet up with you guys, but unfortunately, the time just passed and everything's just a party out there. If all the listeners haven't been to an MLS Cup yet, you have to go to one because it's definitely a spectacle. Ever since they kind of went back to going to the home team instead of just like a neutral zone, it's been a big spectacle, and every time it's a blast. So if you have a chance, get out to one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely wanted to meet up as well. We went to go get some cheesesteaks and we were just like, nope, we're out. We got to go home. We got to drive home. And I know you guys you're out there working, doing your thing. So, but yeah, we appreciate you coming on the show and talking a little footy with us. So let's jump right in. JVic is here as well. I saw that comment that you threw up there. Love JVic. He's our guy. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about MLS Cup, right? Columbus Crew gets the dub, kind of held on a little bit at the end, but fairly dominant throughout the course of the night. Really kind of the deserved team. Was it always going to be an East Coast team? Like the Western Conference a little down this year. Basically the top 3-4 seeds were all from the Eastern Conference. So what do you think about MLS Cup? Just kind of first impressions and overall in this season.
Well, you know what? The West Coast didn't have Inter Miami, DC United, and Charlotte to beat up on every week. So,
okay.
I would say our side is a little deeper.
Okay.
Than the other side, but no. We only had Colorado to beat up on. Maybe DC was a hard game every game. It's just they got unfortunate, really. But MLS Cup was awesome. I mean, honestly, the best thing possible before Messi comes and runs the table, right? Like. This is probably, we saw a beautiful soccer team come, beautifully coached soccer team.
Yes. And
just completely outplay the favorite. I mean, I had, to be honest, I had LAFC as the favorite because of the reigning champs.
Really?
Chiellini, Bouanga, the Golden Boot. They had everything besides the midfield. And we all saw that the midfield needed help. Vegas had LAFC as the favorites, and I really thought they were going to run the table. I really thought LAFC was going to hold off 0-0, and then a corner kick goal goes in off of Chiellini's face, and then Bouanga puts one at the end, so, and then it would be 2-0, LAFC wins, but completely different game. I saw a completely different game. I saw Wilfred Nancy completely just outplay Cherundolo in every tactic he had possible. Kellen Acosta and Ilya Sanchez looked very, very slow on, to try to get some pressure. Yeah. And I don't know. LAFC is gonna, what's funny is like you won the championship 2 years ago, but you're in a rebuild like you got to change over a couple of guys in that starting lineup.
You ever heard of this guy called Diego Rossi? He's kind of good. I don't know if you guys out in LA have ever seen him play, but he was all over the place, and Cucho Hernandez obviously as well. For my money, probably the two best players on the field.
Yeah.
As far as pure talent right now, obviously Vela with the long career, Chiellini with the long career. But as far as actually having influence on the game, Aiden Morris too. My God, that dude had some absolutely wild passes. And he is going to be an interesting one to watch for the U.S. national team and just as he goes throughout his career. So, yeah, it was really interesting game. I think we both kind of were on the East Coast side. Like whoever wins the Cincy Columbus game is probably gonna take it home. and that game was wild as well. But yeah, it was a fun time, great spectacle. MLS put on a great show, and kind of capped off a really fun, really great season. And then they go and drop some news last Friday, and now the whole world's mad at them. So let's talk about this, because we have to get into it, right? Like, we have no choice. MLS is pulling out as of now. I guess they're still pulling out of the U.S. Open Cup with their first teams. U.S. Soccer said, no, you're not playing your backup teams. That's not going to happen. What's the mood? Like, what's the vibe around from like reporters and from fans and teams?
Yeah, of course. I mean, all the fans, all the reporters, everybody that's involved in soccer right now and has been in soccer for the last 5 to 10 years knows how important this tournament is, knows how important a CCC berth is now. I mean, change the name,
I'm not gonna learn that one. It's still champion.
But
at least for a few years.
Sacramento's run was something that was so special 2 years ago, and I got to cover Sacramento. Actually, I used to work for the Cup.us, and I got to cover Sacramento, and because I'm in the Northern California area, Sacramento, Monterey, all these other teams. Last year, LAFC brought their MLS Next Pro team to play Monterey, and that was probably one of the most fun matchups I went to all season, right? It was just
went to penalties.
It went down to the wire. Jakupovic, the third stringer for LAFC, was just like, triple H'ing the crowd, so it was a lot of fun, it was like, oh dang, this is a US Open Cup game, and I go to those games when the other teams are hosting, like Sacramento, Monterey, the lower leagues, because it's such a good time. You get all these people out to go see LAFC, and unfortunately, maybe they don't know that, hey, Vela's maybe not playing, but they still have a great time. They support their lower team or lower league team, and they're just excited to go on in this tournament. So, in my opinion, I talked to a couple of players around the league as well, and they're not happy with it either. Of course, you're going to get guys like Messi, Suarez, even older guys like Shaqiri, who maybe don't care too much about the Open Cup games, and they look at this kind of schedule congestion that everybody has, and 8 games might be less for them. So it really depends, because a team like San Jose, if you're in this new rule, right, but there's no rule policing the MLS Next Pro team to have as many MLS guys, right? So you can have, 8 MLS guys on your MLS Next Pro team, which is possible. But if you're San Jose, you're sitting at no silverware in the last 10 years. You're close to a quarterfinal berth in the U.S. Open Cup. Of course you're throwing Cade Cowell in there.
Yeah.
Of course you're throwing Jeremy Abobasi and Christian Espinoza in there. That's the easiest route to a Champions Cup berth and a chance of silverware. So I actually, I wasn't too appalled by this decision, because there's no policing of MLS players playing in Next Pro. So it's like, I don't see a team like the San Jose Earthquakes, or even like Cincinnati just won, but even like a DC United not throwing their whole team if they're in the quarters or the semis, right? So I don't know. I didn't think it was going to last, to be honest, because then you're going to get Benteke against a whole bunch of MLS Next Pro kids, and then that's not going to be good either. So I wasn't too worried. I really thought the right thing was going to happen. But I just think it's an odd move by the MLS. But hey, they want the Messi money to themselves, right? So but I'm a big believer. This is where I'm a little different. I'm actually a really big believer in Leagues Cup. I actually think Leagues Cup is the future of MLS. I think because I'm on the West Coast, I do see the Mexican influence every single day. If I walk out to San Jose or San Francisco, I'll see Pumas jerseys, Chivas jerseys, America jerseys, Cruz Azul. You'll rarely see an Earthquakes jersey or even a Sacramento jersey. So I think the combination of Liga MX and MLS playing in a serious tournament is the future for this league, because you're going to get a whole bunch of fans just influx watching who the heck is this, Paul Marie guy in San Jose, or who the heck is, like Facundo Torres. Of course they know Facundo Torres, but like, why is he playing for Orlando, right? So I don't know. I just think Mexico's such a big market that we don't even realize that if people are talking about Facundo Torres on every single Mexican newspaper, MLS exponentially grows overnight, and that's why I think Leagues Cup is the future. But unfortunately, it came at the death of U.S. Open Cup. But I think there's going to be a way.
So that was going to be my question, actually. Are the two kind of like mutually exclusive, right? Like I personally would be all for like growing Leagues Cup, playing more against Mexico, playing more against the Caribbean teams, playing more against the Canadian Premier League teams. I'm all for it. Like, let's expand Champions League. Let's do the whole FIFA Club World Cup thing and expand up there. But does that kind of preclude U.S. Open Cup games, right? Like MLS teams play less games than Premier League teams. Premier League has the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, and they play in the Champions League, right? So they have 4 different competitions they're playing in. MLS can't play in 3 with less games in their normal regular season schedule. Like, what? Why are the two mutually exclusive?
Yeah, look, I mean, I really do think everything is possible. I mean, I don't understand. There's owners in this league, and we all know who those owners are, right? That held back the league this last week, right? I mean, no 4th DP. No increasing in spend. I mean, maybe a little bit of increased spending.
A little.
Yeah, right. So it's like, just expand the rosters, expand the spending, and let them play every tournament. Let them decide who they want to play. If they want to throw Messi versus the Tampa Bay Rowdies, then let them do it. It doesn't matter. But I highly doubt a team with an asset that big is going to not track their games anyway. So I don't know. I didn't think it was the best decision by MLS to make that decision for teams. But at the same time, I made a tweet the other day saying, Lionel Messi is going to be the biggest MLS Next Pro jersey sales of all time, right? So, like, if he goes down and plays,
if he goes down, yeah,
right. But no one's going to tell him, no, you can't do that because there's no rule against it. So
true.
I don't know. I think MLS Next Pro has that weird font. So I was saying, if you sell a Messi jersey in that weird font, hey, that's another like exclusive special order jersey that you can sell.
Play him in one game, and then you get to sell the jersey forever.
Just like all the jerseys that he hasn't played in that they're still selling with his name on it. Yeah,
right. But like in San Jose, there's I think a lot of you guys might know this guy, Shea Salinas. He's a San Jose Earthquakes legend, but he played one game in MLS Next Pro, and it was like, dude, who has that jersey? Like that jersey better be in the Quakes Hall of Fame or something, right? Because that's a cool one, right? Like a legend goes down to play a Next Pro game with a whole bunch of 22-year-olds.
It's like when Derek Jeter goes on a rehab assignment and plays in, Toledo Mud Hens jersey or something like that. Exactly. It's like the biggest game ever for the Toledo Mud Hens.
Which I actually like MLS Next Pro for that reason too. I think if you're a professional league in MLS or in the United States, you're gonna have to have an affiliate team. I mean, maybe some of the teams should be rebranded and kind of taking that USL approach where for San Jose, they had a team in Reno, Nevada that was the affiliate. Maybe a little too far, but I think some teams should, venture off a bit and be a smaller town's team because then they'll embrace it completely.
Well, I think the academy system, like it's starting to, right? And it really is like you see it in Orlando, like they're starting to build out. Miami has an academy as well, and it's weird. Like you kind of mentioned earlier, where it's like it's weird that MLS came out and made the statement that they did when teams already rotate early rounds anyway. It already happens. We already know it. Why not just keep it the way it is? Play nice, right? And then just be like, yeah, tell your teams, hey, play your kids and maybe don't take it as seriously, and then go from there. Yeah. But they just stirred the pot for what? And I do agree that Leagues Cup and Open Cup can coincide, and there is an untapped Mexican market. I am 100% Mexican, so like I understand it. When Santos comes and plays in Orlando, everyone comes out of nowhere. You're like, where the heck did all these people come from, and where are they every Saturday? Like it doesn't make sense. So like there's an untapped market, but you'd think MLS having Messi here, having everybody is here watching right now, this is the time that you want to literally put everything under the spotlight, and they're like, nah, Open Cup, you go over there. It's mind-boggling. I don't get it.
There has to be something happening behind doors because, like you said, everything is going perfectly smooth. You just landed the best player in the world. Apple TV's in love with you. I mean, everybody's having a good, sizable pocket change right now. So what's going on behind closed doors where the Federation and MLS are kind of at a crossroads? So there has to be something. There's something that I just don't think we should all get too mad about it, because I from the start I was not worried. I knew they were gonna make it right.
Is it just kind of a pride thing? Like, oh, well, we run the joint now. We can make the decisions, and U.S. Soccer just has to kind of listen to us. And it's just kind of like we're going to do this because we do this anyway. And now we're going to actually say we're doing it, as opposed to because they always play the kids for the first 2 rounds anyway. But like you said, once they get to the quarterfinal, once they get to the semifinal, like Cincinnati ran out of their full starting 11 against us in the quarterfinal. And we got beat for sure. But it was like a worldy goal that beat us. And, that was cool to watch though. Like, we went to the game. There were probably like 30 of us that went to a game. We don't get 30 people to travel to any USL games, right? So biggest game of our season. They're still getting their chance at Messi in the semifinals. And that was a great game too. So you get to see more MLS and MLS kind of games on there. So I kind of I feel like everybody almost wishes the Open Cup were bigger. Like, everybody wishes everybody cared about the Open Cup, and just nobody does for some reason. And it's like, the FA Cup is huge. Like, why is this any different than the FA Cup,
I actually don't think nobody cares about the US Open Cup. This is the weirdest part for me. When people said that, I was just like, I don't necessarily believe it too much, because on the West Coast, Monterrey, like I said, is a pretty big team in a somewhat secluded area where you're not going to drive to San Jose. Sacramento wanted to be an MLS team. So maybe we have stronger kind of second division clubs out here in California, at least. But shoot.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Sacramento Republic will have more fans than the Quakes in the US.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's people.
The second division teams definitely care.
Yeah.
But it's like the MLS teams, the MLS fans, like they don't care. They don't show up. Like, we went to Cincinnati, the stadium was half full, and it was like literally one half. The team knew half the stadium wasn't coming. And it's like, why? It's a quarterfinal. You're playing for a trophy. Like, the other team doesn't get paid as much as you, and they're not quite as good as you, but like, they're still a decent team. You know what I mean? Like, cup sets happen all the time. And there's always a team that goes on a run to like the quarters or the semis from a lower division. So, those teams definitely care, and it's huge for them. And it just seems like MLS just like, well, they're kind of fending for themselves. Like, we're looking out for ourselves now. We're gonna go play Liga MX and our normal schedule, and you guys are on your own.
But like, at the same time though, like, we kind of romanticize the Open Cup because we're sickos,
Right.
and we're in it like that. Like, you got to think, especially like, you got to think the amount of clubs that actually came up from USL. You got to think Orlando did, Cincinnati did. Like, there are teams now that have that history that are coming into that. Hey, they were the small fry hosting an MLS team, and
that's where Cincy started.
So like, fans for those teams, they care about it more, to where like, the casual fan, you got to think where MLS was 5 years ago to today is completely different. And like, we're just not caught up in that. People haven't been invested long enough for them to actually really care about the Open Cup. So when they're throwing this fancy new shiny thing in front of them now, which is this crazy intercontinental like competition with Liga MX and all this thing, and like, it seems like a money grab, and it seems like the easy thing to point at and blame. But at the same thing, like, maybe the Open Cup isn't exactly what we thought it was, even though it should be. It definitely should be, but I don't think it was there yet, unfortunately. And I think MLS execs kind of see that.
I actually think the whole problem isn't the US Open Cup. I just actually think the average American doesn't know the superstars that are on the team, or they don't know even like the subs at MLS teams. And I think the problem actually roots from MLS, because if you go to a San Jose, Colorado game, it's going to be half empty, to be honest with you. So I actually don't think it makes a difference if it's I even think a Sacramento Republic and a Quakes game would sell more than a Colorado San Jose game. So I really don't think it's that nobody thinks the US Open Cup is sexy. I think if you tell a normal American that watches, the Dan Patrick show or watches what's his name? It's slipping. The punter from Pat McAfee. Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe it shows that I'm not in the Midwest, huh? No, Pat McAfee show. You tell them the story behind the Open Cup, and they'll fall in love with it. You know how many times they probably thought, this AAA ball can probably beat the St. Louis Cardinals. You know, like it's so easy to romanticize a Cinderella story, and in an MLS or in a U.S. Open Cup tournament. I actually think the problem lies with MLS teams not being promoted enough, maybe, and not having enough superstars, or at least not selling enough superstars to the average American. I know that's my angle a lot. I mean, I always try to, when I'm reporting or when I'm doing something, I always think about the average American. I always think about not just the soccer fan, but how am I going to sell Denis Bouanga to, a guy who watches Nebraska every Saturday, So it's like, it's a tough draw.
You sell him Duncan McGuire.
Yeah, right. But like Brandon Aubrey's killing it with the Dallas Cowboys, and I tweet about it all the time because it's actually a big deal, because they're like, wait, we have a professional soccer league, like maybe we can grab more kickers from there, So I don't know. I personally think that Leagues Cup is bringing in new fans. Yes, like you said, you're gonna get a Tigres versus San Jose, where a whole bunch of Tigres fans live around California. They're gonna travel for that game. Of course, they're gonna come see their team because, again, Liga MX, I think we're all understanding Liga MX is bigger than MLS. And I think that's the thing that maybe not everybody wants to talk about. And I want to say that's probably the reason why these Leagues Cup is selling out. It's not because it's sexier than the US Open Cup. It's that they want to see Gignac score a crazy golazo versus San Jose. It's not that, Tigres is a good team. No, they have superstars. They know superstars. Their family was involved with that team. You were born into being a Tigres fan. It might be a little different for U.S. Open Cup, but I just don't think that the U.S. Open Cup is the issue. I think the issue is Colorado doesn't have enough history to sell the game on its own.
Right. And I mean, you're going to get that with Leagues Cup. Like, Tigres hasn't come here in forever. Like, they may play a friendly every now and then, but playing an actual competitive game in the United States just doesn't happen. So, like, any Tigres fan is going to go out to that. Now, if they were to do it 4 or 5 times a year, you're going to start to see those attendances drop down a little bit.
Right.
And that's not because, like, the fans are not passionate or anything. That's just, like, I'm getting one chance to see Tigres. Like, I have to do it. I have to get there.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I can go next month, I can go next year, it's fine. And we start to like play Leagues Cup all the time. Like, I think once the shiny newness wears off, it'll be very similar, it'll be very similar to Open Cup. Yeah. I mean, I do. Cause I think, like I said, it's got a very shiny newness to it, to where everybody's like, I have to go see my team. I have to go see my team. And they still will come, but it's like, the more you do something, the less scarce it is, like the less special it is, if that makes sense. Like, it's special for say us to play Cincinnati because we don't play Cincinnati every year, right? We don't even get to play MLS teams every year. We've played like, I think we've played like, because we had a long run this year, we played 3 teams, but before that we hadn't played a team since like 2018, so like, it's special for us. If we did it every single year, I don't even think we could get people to come, see, like, if we're just in MLS, like Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati pulls everybody, but you get my point. Like, the more you do it, the less like special it is.
I totally get your point, but in California, if any Liga MX teams come, everybody's going. And if you're just
they show out, man,
an American, you're showing up. If you're a Cruz Azul fan, you're going to get roasted for showing up to a game that's not Cruz Azul, but you're still going. You're still buying beers. You're still having a good time. So, I don't know. Maybe there's just an crazy amount of untapped market in California for Liga MX stuff.
No, everywhere.
But, yeah.
I think the whole South for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All over. Texas, the South, California. Like, it's huge.
Oh, yeah. We're everywhere, baby. We are everywhere. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, but I do understand what you're saying, though. I think the shininess will wear off, but I don't think it's going to wear off that quickly, just because, I mean, people love Chivas. Like, people get Chivas tattoos.
Oh, it won't be next year. Yeah. It won't be next year at all.
So do you think they should alternate countries every year?
Yes.
I am a big fan. I was like, what? Next year's Leagues Cup should be all played in Mexico. And then just every year, just flip-flop
it'd be so good for the MLS.
It would be so sick.
Yeah.
It would be great.
But that's the whole thing, right? Now it's now we're getting that Colorado story I told you about, but in Liga MX, right? Like,
Dude, they don't care about
right.
no
What if
MLS
you get Cruz Azul playing against San Jose? Like, they're not going to sell out, right? So I understand it. I totally understand why it's in the U.S. I know it's not fair. I totally know it's not fair. But is the home field advantage that big? At least on the West Coast, it's not. I mean, if the LA Galaxy play against Monterrey, are they really the home team? So it's something to really think about.
They're all the same fans. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more Monterrey fans there than the LA
Yeah,
Galaxy
right.
fans for sure.
Like Mexico just played at the Coliseum in LA and it was packed. I mean, and you can see all the LAFC fans in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, they all got a Mexican team too. Like, what if America played LAFC in LA? That's not a home game for LAFC, So
Right.
it's just it's something interesting.
So it's well known that MLS, right? They're like making moves, doing this big thing. One big thing they did last year was MLS Season Pass on Apple. Do you think that was a good move for the league as far as growing it internationally? Because it's a lot easier. You can get everything all in the same place. How do you feel about the first year under Apple TV? Do you think they hit a home run? Do you think there's things they could do different? Where's your stance on the
I loved
Season
it
Pass?
120%. All right, I'm gonna tell you this. Teams need to go to their local downtowns and set up Apple TV for every single bar owner. Once they do that, once your whole city understands how to put on a game for your bar, I think that's the biggest next step. And I know that for a fact the San Jose Earthquakes did that. They went downtown and they taught all the bar owners how to put on the games. LA's huge, right? But I mean, if LAFC is in a Western Conference final and the bar you walk into can't put on the game, a little embarrassing, to be honest. So that is a loop or something that they need to work on. But 2 or 3 years ago, when I started this journalism journey that I did, I lived in Japan. I used to pirate MLS games because there was no other way of watching it, right? So, imagine if I was in Japan today and I could just buy one season of Apple TV's MLS Season Pass, and I get not only the games, I get podcasts that are on there. I get separate breakaway shows. I get separate off the pitch shows. I get so much content for every single team that it's for me it's a no-brainer. I mean, I just don't think MLS is ever going to appeal to that demographic that still watches news on TV, and unfortunately, this is the move that really says, hey, we don't really care about those fans,
Right.
We care about the 20, 30-year-olds that have an iPhone, but they know how to use it, right? So we care about those fans a little more. And I just think they did such a great job on season 1. Of course, there was going to be blunders. Of course, there was going to be mistakes. But a big thing is, too, every game was in Spanish. I mean, I love listening to soccer in Spanish. 100% love it in Spanish because I grew up speaking Spanish, understanding Spanish. It just feels a little bit more homey to me. But yeah, that's something that I hope doesn't go away. It was awesome. And I mean, Spanish is just one language. I think there was French broadcasts too. And I think there was other broadcasts as well. So I don't know. I just loved it. I love the appeal of if Messi made the playoffs, I know for a fact they would have pinged every single person's phone with an iPhone.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They were pinging everybody's phone when they were playing a friendly against like NYCFC or something during a playoff game.
Right.
It was like they're playing an MLS playoff game and you're pinging them about a friendly that Messi's playing in. That's mind-blowing, but I 100% get it. Like, I know exactly what they're talking about.
But, like, we literally bully people into getting iPhones. Like, you got green bubbles? What? You use WhatsApp? Nah, dude. Nah. Get yourself an iPhone. Who are you hiding from? We really bully people into getting iPhones. So this move, honestly, was the best move possible for MLS. I always look back at this one photo where it's all 29 captains with maybe captains or superstars with Tim Cook. And I always look at that photo and I'm like, this photo alone is worth the deal, because I think a lot of people see Apple as that premium company. A lot of people see Apple as almost like Disney-like. And we're the first first league that's on that platform. So yes, maybe the paywall wasn't the best idea, or maybe it was a little too much. I saw the scheduling, and I saw that now there's going to be more games on Sundays that are the premium game, which is something that we all wanted, and they listened, because if there's a premium game that all of us can watch, we're all going to make that game viral, and clicks and viralness matters in this day and age. If we're all talking about Seattle versus LAFC on Sunday, maybe a little change up from football, which is fine. I think there's so much more to be gained in terms of viralness, in terms of clicks, and in terms of everything. I think I'm a huge fan of the Apple move. I think, to be honest, ESPN and Fox, yes, they did a good job. Univision did a really good job, but did they do the best job? No. Like, I was talking to an ESPN reporter, and he was pissed because on the ESPN Sports Center for the night Columbus won the championship, they didn't cover it. They didn't throw a single clip of the whole Columbus game in their Sports Center. They said, we're not just going to cover it. We're going to put it on the ticker on the bottom. Like, what? So,
and that's why I haven't watched Sports Center in 5 years.
Right. It's like, they know at this point in time, they know what they're doing, not letting soccer in. Yeah. And it's almost like, I don't want to say it, but it's like baseball and NHL, maybe they're a little scared, or they're kind of pushing these networks that, hey, Otani did this, here's this, like, because I would get mad at people saying, "Oh, Messi doesn't speak English." How does he not speak English if he's the biggest athlete in America? But then 6 months later, Otani becomes the highest paid baseball player, but no one cares because he only speaks Japanese. Like,
right?
Nah, dude. Like, so I don't know. There's a lot of bones to pick with national sports media, and this just highlights it. And I'm glad we don't have to fight with that anymore. We can just be on Apple TV, and we can appeal to the international fan while fighting with the domestic fan day by day, really.
So we're allowed to rag on the NHL because they're not on So Rare, but Major League Baseball is on So Rare, so we gotta stay off of them. But no, 100% get your point. And the other thing that Apple gave was a whole lot of cash. Now the question is, why didn't that cash get reinvested into the rosters? Why didn't we get more, like the MLS has always been Messi. The MLS, that too. MLS Messi got a whole lot of that cash too. So like MLS has always been, the superstar, and then everybody else is kind of not really that good. I think the next step for the league in growth is the depth, right? And that allows you to play Leagues Cup and Open Cup and MLS and all of these things that we talk about. If you have 15, 20, 25 legitimate players, and the depth has gotten better, right? With the U23 initiative, all this different stuff that they're doing with the roster rules. I actually think the being able to use players that you sell and getting to turn that into GAM is actually a bigger deal than a lot of people are saying. Because I'm an MLS nerd sicko, and I actually look at the salary cap and I'm like, oh my God, that's like groundbreaking. But as far as the depth goes, right, we have to invest more. Like, we have to just pay these 10 through 20 roster spots more in order to be able to invest in this talent and be able to keep this talent, instead of guys like George Bello going overseas, guys like I want to say Jack McGlynn. I guess he's not gone yet, but he's definitely going. But those guys that are like integral parts of their teams that leave just because they know they can have a bigger payday in Europe if they can't be on a DP contract here. So I think that's like one of the next steps maybe is kind of investing in the teams and in the depth. And I kind of want to get your perspective on, obviously that didn't happen this offseason. Do you think that's a thing that is going to happen, or do you think it's like owners being like, that Apple money belongs to us and we're going to keep that?
Yeah, look, I was there when Stephen Goff with the Washington Post or Jeffrey Carlisle with ESPN, either one, my apologies, straight up asked Don Garber, is there going to be a fourth DP? And we all looked at him like this was the moment. Right? We were like, oh, he's that frank. But that's awesome. That's what we needed. There was a lot of tiptoeing around it.
Someone had to say it.
Someone just said, you adding a fourth DP. And then Don Garber, at that moment, once he took a deep breath, we were like, oh, it's not gonna happen. It's wild to me because how Inter Miami got Suarez on a TAM contract is beyond me.
All
right?
those guys, right?
Right. So
There's so many.
I don't know. I just this was a tough one because we were all expecting it, and people that are disappointed with this decision are MLS fans. So it's like you're disappointing the people that you already have, and
right.
It's just like, we all know who those owners are. I mean, I already alluded to it, right? So we all know who those owners are, and I know Jorge Mas, the owner of Inter Miami, is gonna say something. I totally. He was saying it last year, where some of the owners are holding us back, and he's gonna say something this year for sure. And I'm hoping next year they can kind of, hey, we got a lot of backlash. I think everybody's ready for it. Let's see how we do in Leagues Cup. And I hope those Mexican teams really run the table on some of those teams, right? 7-0.
Put them in the ground.
Yeah. I really want to see it because I do. I really do.
Then that lights a fire under you, and you're like,
Exactly.
oh, we have to do this. In some cases, though, like I understand the owner's perspective, but they're kind of out of their league, if that makes sense. Like, think about DC United. When the DC United owners bought that team, it was maybe $50 million, right? It was basically a really big USL team at this point, right?
Yeah.
They are now at least a $500 million team, if not more. And they don't have that kind of income, like they cannot support that financially. Like they bought a $50 million team. They aren't ready to have a $500 million, $1 billion team. Like more growth is actually kind of bad for them, right? They literally can't handle it. So I think that's where you get these comments like, oh, some of these owners are holding us back. And it's like these guys like DC United, and I don't blame them. Like, what are they going to do about it? They don't have $300 million to fork over, right? Like this is their team. So like they're selling spots to Mark Ingram for however much money they got out of him. And like, they're trying to like get as much money as they can, but they just cannot compete.
Yo, got it.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, they finding anybody off the street who wants to donate them some money. Like James Harden's in there, Kevin Durant's in there. Like we'll get anybody. We just can't afford. And then we get these billionaire owners who are like, we want to spend. Like we want to compete with the Premier League. We want to compete with Europe. How does that get like resolved? Like you can't force someone to sell something. But it's like, hey guys, maybe you don't belong here. Can we give you a nice severance on the way out?
Well, so my whole thing is like, look at Columbus. So Columbus was a perfect example of an owner who didn't want to really spend in Columbus, then goes to Austin, splashes the cash for Driussi, right?
Yeah.
So it's something that's interesting. But I feel like the new Columbus owners in that ownership group, they run that organization so well. And I really saw it in person at lower.com. They still have their old stadium for the MLS Next Pro side. And it's almost making me wonder, like, how we're talking about, getting better talent on, roster spot number 26.
Right.
Is Columbus going through an MLS Next Pro golden era, or are they giving chances to these young guys playing a good kind of soccer where these young guys can excel, to where thinking that maybe the 26 roster guide for Columbus isn't that bad right now? So it almost makes me wonder, because I mean, they won the MLS Cup with Patrick Schulte, with another guy named Max Arston, who was an MLS Next Pro player for the Quakes a couple of years ago. So I don't know. I really think that Columbus has such a good whole kind of organization from top to bottom that it's possible for these smaller markets to do it. And
to your point, they won MLS Next Pro last year. They made the final again this year. But it's the Cleveland Browns owners, right? They're an NFL franchise. They have tons of money. It's not like, a Colorado or I guess Colorado has money. Actually,
Kroenke owns the Rams.
But like DC United's a good example. I could go through and like look at who's had teams for a while, but there's some owners who literally can't. Like the Kroenke is just like, he just doesn't want to, and it's just like,
just won't.
Why do you own the team if you don't want to like play the team? Like you should try to have a team to win,
Look at San Jose. San Jose, the owner is Fisher. He owns the A's. He owns Gap. I mean, he owns a lot of things. And that's one where I feel like the best solution, to answer your question on the last one, my apologies, was the Austin situation. Might be a perfect situation for the Quakes too. the ownership gets to move a team to Vegas, gets to next to the Las Vegas A's. He wants to be over there, and then a new ownership group comes and takes over the Earthquakes. That might be the best case scenario to kind of, get another owner in here that's ambitious, as well as kind of the older owner. You can have the easy money if you wanted.
You have to spend it.
Yeah, exactly. Or like spend.
Yeah.
He's gonna spend like Precourt. He's gonna spend a little more in his new market because it's shiny, right? So at least something that's a solution. Where, hey, do you want to move? We'll give you this team. Just we need another West Coast powerhouse, or we need original team to start spending money, because if you're a guy in the middle of California, of course you're not going to choose the San Jose Earthquakes because their payroll is a fourth of what the LAFC is or the LA Galaxy. So it's just like,
right.
Yeah. Speaking of that, though, JVic brings up a good question. Where's Nathan going to end up at? Because I did see you posted an article, I think today, or you reposted it with the second reentries tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't realize Chicharito's still up for grabs too.
Yeah.
Do you think he stays?
So this is weird. No, he's not staying in LA. Sorry, excuse me.
Or in MLS.
He's not staying in the Galaxy. But if you're Houston, why not? Right? Why not take a chance and pick Chicharito? Bring in another guy who's a veteran player who can change that offense. I mean, Bassey's a great player, but in big game situations, you might want to put Chicharito out there with Hector Herrera, and they have some sort of link up. But the re-entry draft is such a weird thing this year, because there's guys like Chicharito in there, even Chiellini's in there, right? But of course, Chiellini retired. But if Chicharito's gonna play again, I mean, so many teams pass on the stage 2 re-entry draft that it's like, shoot, if you're Colorado, just throw a flyer out. It doesn't cost you anything because you're already in this draft. I mean, maybe don't move up to try to sign a player like Chicharito, but if you're a 29th pick or 28th pick, and shoot, throw a flyer at Chicharito, offer him a contract, because then you own his MLS rights. So it's something where, it's going to be a weird one, because there's players like Chicharito, even Josef Martinez, another guy who made a lot of money last year. Yeah, I know. Some people say he shows up to the Lions Den and takes out Simba every time. I
know.
But a player like that, right? If you're Colorado, if you're San Jose, if you're even the LA Galaxy, and you can sign Josef Martinez to maybe a DP TAM contract, shoot, why not? Why not get a chance to have a proven goal scorer on your team for literally nothing, because he's in this re-entry draft? A guy like Nathan, I saw one of the comments said Nathan. That one's interesting, because I don't think.
Who needs a center back?
Yeah.
You know who Antonio Carlos just left?
Yeah, right. And that's what I was thinking too. He's coming off of an ACL tear. Yes, he might not be the best player possible, but a guy like Nathan, I mean, can still provide great MLS minutes, because he was a Team of the Week player before he tore his ACL in Monterrey, actually playing a USL side. But yeah, a guy like Miguel Trauco is another one where he made $550,000 last year. And a lot of Quakes fans were weird about him getting let go. So that's another player we can see, maybe a team like Atlanta throws him 300, 400,000. And if you're Miguel Trauco, why not? Why not, stay in MLS and have another opportunity with a different team? So yeah, the league's getting so much bigger that you're actually getting really good players in the re-entry draft. So it's just interesting. If you have a chance to make Chicharito stay at a Houston or a Colorado, why not throw that flyer out there?
Dude, that would be. I love Chicharito. I grew up with Chicharito. It's just one of those things where, like, and it sucks to see what happened to him at LA, right? Because when he was out there, it was great, and then the few times that you got to see him with Poosh, it was incredible.
Right.
But we just didn't get all that. He couldn't stay healthy, and it really sucks to see. And I do hope he stays in MLS.
If Houston does sign Chicharito and they do the unthinkable and sign him, jersey sales would go through the roof.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
They'd make more in jersey sales than they paying him.
Right. So if they can, like I said in the article that I wrote, if they can sign him for like a $2 million, $3 million deal, I know it's a DP, but that ownership group has some deep pockets and they want to be known. I mean, they want to make that brand bigger than what it is now. A guy like Chicharito in the re-entry draft, you offer him $3 million, you make that in jersey sales alone, in my opinion.
The Holy Trinity: Hector Herrera, Chicharito, and Ben Olsen. Never get a better trinity than that.
And Carlos Vela. No.
The fighting Ben Olsons, man.
The fighting Ben Olsons will live to fight another day. We are big fans of Ben Olsen on this podcast as a DC fan and former. He's a big former DC player and coach.
Yeah.
My God, we love our Benny boy.
I was out there when he was talking about the pitch at LAFC. I was right in front of him when he said that, and I was just like, "Oh, Taco," you know, like I knew exactly what the time was. Pretty funny.
Yeah. Let's talk about some more individual players. Maybe some guys that you think could break out next season, could get onto potentially new teams, or just, you know, they're kind of coming into their own at the end of this year, and next year they'll kind of have a bigger role. Maybe a transfer out somewhere that allows a guy to get more playing time. What are some of your kind of guys that you're looking for to kind of step up next year?
Yeah, look, a player like, I've always said this for the past couple of years, but Benji Kokanovic should be a player that's on everybody's radar. If you play so rare, I think he's a player that under Matias Almeida with the San Jose Earthquakes, he had a great future. Maybe, you know, had a couple of, you know, injuries that stopped him from really reaching his potential. But I feel like if he comes in for Bobasi in that kind of lineup, or if he comes in on the wing for Cade Cal, I think Benji Kokanovic has an opportunity to score every single time. Again, but this is also the appeal of him maybe having a transfer out to Europe. I know he was literally suitcase packed to make that trip to Europe, and it just fell through. But this is a player that you could probably get on the cheap now.
Yeah. There was another guy by the name of Lucho Acosta who had his suitcase packed to PSG, and that transfer fell through, and he went to Mexico, came back, and look where he is now. So yeah, still a young guy, 23 years old, and he is dirt cheap right now. So you basically get him for free. And guess who picked one up this offseason? I did.
I had him last year when he was on that heater for a little bit.
He was, yeah. Another guy who I think is going to have a bigger year than last year is Max Arston, a player for the Columbus Crew who I know very dearly because I covered him at Quakes too. But he had a crazy goal versus Atlanta when Columbus was playing in the playoffs. So he's going to be back in Columbus, and he's going to have more minutes. He's going to have a bigger role. He's just a player that everywhere he's been at, has become a very serviceable player for a team. And if Nancy sticks around, has already seen that he could be pretty serviceable in his system, and actually does give him a lot of minutes for an MLS Next Pro guy who was just drafted last year.
Yeah, definitely an interesting shout. Again, another guy that's U22 or U23, another guy that's dirt cheap right now. So if he does end up getting some playing time, he scored 3 goals and had 2 assists already in his very brief career. So he's definitely proven he can do it. And like you alluded to, his Next Pro exploits, very interesting guy to kind of watch out for.
Yeah, he was the first player to ever get drafted from MLS Next Pro. So that one was interesting from the get. You know, he was just someone that always had a chip on his shoulder. You know, San Jose didn't give him the opportunity, but Columbus did. Nancy really liked him in preseason, and then, you know, he had a playoff goal. And it's not easy to get a playoff goal, that's for sure. In MLS. So it was definitely interesting to see. Another player that comes to mind is going to be Griffin Dorsey. I mean, Griffin Dorsey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
my guy.
If you guys don't know about him, you guys do. You guys.
He became a so rare darling on this little Houston run that they went on. Griffin Dorsey put himself on the map this year.
He's
for sure.
So good.
I mean, he's a player who just got a payday with Houston. He's gonna be someone in that lineup all the time. I think he's a future captain for that team if he wants to stay, or if he wants to go to Europe too. Maybe he has a ceiling there. But I thought he was phenomenal. He even got oohs and ahs from Lionel Messi himself when he scored in that U.S. Open Cup final. So a player, I think, you guys know about Griffin Dorsey. But if you don't, I think with the new paycheck, with the new payday, he's a player that would be on your radar.
Anybody that Ben Olsen is willing to pay, we're willing to have on our teams for sure. We love us Griffin Dorsey.
And you kind of mentioned it about young players making that jump overseas. And I've been saying this on recent episodes, but do you think there's more incentive now for younger players to maybe stay in MLS longer than they would have just because of where the league is going? And hey, a lot of eyeballs are now coming over here instead of wasting away on the bench somewhere or fighting for a spot? Are they like maybe more incentivized to stay? I don't know if you've talked to some players here and they're like, maybe I will stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, look, we all want to think MLS is there, but it's not there yet. I mean, if you're a guy like Aiden Morris, you already have 2 MLS Cups under your belt. You're coming back as a hero. I mean, no matter what your stint happens in Europe and whatever happens in Europe, you guys know this. USA fans are gung ho about a third division American striker, So it doesn't. I don't think their marketability drops any bit. I mean, everybody knows Richie Ledesma, right? So it's something where it's like, Americans just love their European-based guys, and I don't think you drop any points of marketability. I don't think I don't think it's that big of a leap of faith. I think you're going to come back to MLS with open arms. Look at Paul Arriola. Look at Jordan Morris, right? Where their stints didn't go too well. And then they just came back and became superstars again. I mean, Paul with a little bit with DC United, I believe. He had some good seasons there. And then with FC Dallas, he's someone that starts every game. So Jordan Morris is a superstar again, right? So, yeah, I don't think
weeks.
Yeah,
when it feels like it.
Yeah, this is not the most consistent superstar on the planet, but
start him the first 3 months and then drop him. It's so high. So
weirdly, it exactly lines up with when I bought and sell. Like when I buy him, he drops off a cliff, and then when I sell him, he's like, "Oh, I think I'll start playing again." So yeah, that's how that works. If you didn't know, you can just look at my Sora gallery, and anyone that I buy, you can just go ahead and start fading them because they're going to be terrible.
Another shout is actually Ordaz for LAFC. He's another guy who played in MLS Next Pro and got a lot of minutes for LAFC last year in that midfield. But I'm assuming this midfield is going to switch around a whole bunch, and you can probably get him on the real cheap because he should get some minutes this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, only 19 years old, so definitely U23 for a while. Very, very cheap as well, like you mentioned, and I love these guys that have like this kind of graph looking, right? Like sub. Like they came on pretty consistently throughout the last half of the year, even really all the way back to June, right? He was getting time. So you love to see that kind of thing. And if, and Ilie, is Ilie moving on? It's kind of Acosta moving on?
Acosta has his contract up, and I don't think they may not bring him back. Bogusz, you guys probably know about Bogusz, but he's probably going to take that starting position. So if you can grab Bogusz on the cheap right now, that's probably something that he will definitely get more minutes next year in that starting lineup.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, another quick shout out because Javic's on
Oh, my guy.
Yeah,
I love Asene Buddha.
Hey, Buddha.
Buddha, baby.
This is a tough one. Buddha is stuck in a very, very loaded wing position in San Jose. He might, move on this season to another team, whether it's a loan or a transfer. But Buddha has all the talent in the world. He could be, he goes down to MLS Next Pro and he becomes the best player on the pitch by far.
Yeah.
So this player is someone just needs a chance to take a chance on him. And I do think that's going to come this year. But let me talk to you about San Jose Earthquakes winger position, right? You have Cade Cowell, where you want Cade Cowell to get all the minutes because that transfer fee just keeps rising and rising and rising if you give him all those minutes. On top of that, you have a guy like Benji Kikanovic who gets winger minutes and has the chance to go to Europe already and has the potential to kind of make that next jump into being an MLS superstar, or not a superstar, but maybe a very, very good MLS player. So Asene Buddha is stuck in a position where even Jack Skane, another player who was an MLS Next Pro guy, was getting minutes over Buddha in crunch playoff minutes for the Quakes. So he's, I would say, maybe fourth on the depth chart for San Jose. And there's, rumblings about him wanting more playing time. So I would say, if you want to take a chance on Asene Buddha possibly getting a new team in the next couple of months, shoot. If he's cheap, go ahead and do it because I don't think they're going to waste this talent away.
Sounds like a flip to me.
Yep. Buy that transfer rumor, sell the news.
So this is what I was saying about, is it okay for me to play so rare, right?
Oh, yeah. Get it. Get this gallery going. 2 years from now, you'll have all the starters. You pay nothing for them. It's great.
Look, you disclose everything, it's fine, right? Yeah. I think as long as you disclose it, that's all.
So funny story about Asene Buddha. So I did a deep dive on I think it was the 21 draft class. The one with Celentano, the one with Schulte, the one with Kip Keller, another one of my favorites. And Oseni Buda was like the guy. Him and Thor Torrenson. I still don't know how to say his name. Those two were like the guys that I was like honed in on for more forwardy type of guys, like more attacking type of guys. And I just want him to get a chance. Like I watched so much film, and I'm just like, I want him to like pan out so that I can finally cash in on my Oseni Buda, which I have 5 of, and I've had for like years.
Yeah, honestly, I do think he's gonna have that break, and I don't know if it's this year. Unfortunately, the Quakes just have way too much talent on the wings. Espinoza on the other side is an MLS MVP candidate. I'm not gonna move him. I should play. Yeah, I should. So a guy like Max, I talked about Max Arston again. He was a Quakes 2 guy, and then he had Buda, Kakanovic, Katie Cal, Espinoza all in front of him. So that was a guy who was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and declare for the draft. And if another team wants to use me and utilize me, now he's an MLS Cup champion, right? So I truly think that Oseni Buda can make a roster on another MLS team that needs wing help. I don't know. I would have Oseni Buda as more talented than Kevin Cabral right now, to be honest with you. But
that's disrespectful.
Kevin Cabral.
Hey, I like Oseni Buda. I've watched a lot of his games. The confidence will come once he gets those games under his belt. But yeah, every time he plays MLS Next Pro, he's instantly the best player on the team. Just manning those 16, 17-year-olds off the ball and just scoring bangers in. So I want to see it translate. And he had an okay season with San Jose. I don't think he had a bad one. It's just they brought in Matthew Hoppe and Ayo Akinola, which Ayo Akinola didn't do much either. So
they have so many names. I'm just buying all the names because one of them at least is gonna come out. Fun fact: Kevin Cabral and Oseni Buda are the exact same price, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, that is
definitely want one, not the other.
Yeah.
With So Rare, you can buy younger players, right? Like Cruz Medina. I mean, that's the one that.
Oh, we love Cruz.
Yeah, that's one where it's like that one can shoot to the stars with that one. So that one's a good one. Kevin Vargas is another one who a lot of people are looking at for Charlotte.
Oh, I love him. He's just so silky on the ball. I love watching him play.
So I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, so you may not know the answer to this, but goalkeeper is a very important position, so rare, and especially U23 goalkeepers. So Roman Celentano is a god, right? Schulte, I think, is still U23 god, right?
Yeah.
Who is the next young goalkeeper that's going to get a chance in MLS?
That one's tough, but the guy from Austin too. The name's escaping me, but he just won the goalkeeper in MLS Next Pro. But he won the goalkeeper wars too in DC.
Oh, he won the goalie wars, right?
Yeah, that's what I think so. But I think he's going to get the next chance. And a lot of people in Austin
are Loss.
Stuver. Yeah, I think it is Loss. I want to say it's Loss. But a lot of people are saying that he's going to get the next chance because Stuver was a little shaky. This guy's next up. If it's not this year, it's the next year. But yeah, a lot of people are saying Loss is the next up because he was a big reason why they won the MLS Next Pro championship at the end.
So we were going to talk about risers and fallers, right? But what are we saying about Austin FC? Are we going to get another overcorrection down, like another overcorrection up again? Where are we going with Austin and their new goalkeeper? Maybe.
Honestly, MLS has changed so much in the last 2 years. Where if they don't get anybody to help Driussi, I mean, Rigoni is not really helping. So if you don't get someone to help Driussi and take those double teams off, it's going to be tough sailing. I mean, I don't think O'Brien's going to push the envelope for them. So I still think they need a little more on that offensive kind of front. Throwing a guy like Oseni Buda, so who knows, right? So, no, I think it's tough to see this whole Wolf debacle, Austin really going anywhere, right? Pereira's leaving, like, what's going on with that defense? They need a center back. They need a couple. Maybe Nathan goes there, right? So I don't know. I think that team has a lot of question marks going into this next year that I wouldn't put them anywhere in the playoff line, to be honest.
That's what I said going into this year, and everybody laughed at me. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think Diego Fagundes can repeat this ridiculous performance from 2021.
But it's funny.
And it didn't work.
They
And
traded him.
shipped
It
him.
got worse.
Yeah, I know. They traded him now, but like he was there at the start of this year.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, he's not doing that again. There's no way. Like he's a solid player, but he was like ridiculous in 2021. So
Right.
yeah, I kind of think that's kind of where they are. Is maybe fighting for a playoff spot some years, at least for now. So it'll be interesting to see.
I actually think that was the worst trade of the last year. Trading away a person that really bought into your system, really bought into your city, really loved being, the first free agent signing for Austin. And probably he had his best season there because of the whole situation, right? So I didn't see that as a good move at all. They got $200K Gam and Memo Rodriguez, who wasn't doing well in LA or Houston the year before. And this guy because you played him multiple times. Shoot, Inter Miami got $250K in Gam just moving 12 spots back in the Super Draft, where it's like you could have got that money elsewhere. You don't have to trade away your fan favorite or someone that's really involved with Austin, right? So
or international spots, since those are hot. Apparently, you're just
right, exactly. And Lucho Acosta is going to be getting a citizenship soon, so that's going to be interesting.
That's awesome. Do you have any other ones, Jorge? Where are we going next?
No, I don't know. Is there? We've been here for an hour. We don't want to take up too much of your time.
I mean, I'm totally fine. I'm having a blast.
It's like they were talking to MLS, dude. Yeah. All right. Well then, hey, give me. Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, do you have a topic? What do you want to cover? What do you want to ask us?
Yeah. Let me. All right. Here we go. We're switching it up a little bit.
Here.
All right.
Yeah.
What's one gem in So Rare you guys are looking at?
Who you want to know? Mine.
My gallery. Here we go. You answer first.
And I'm really big. I've already planted my flag that Thomas Chancalay at New England is going to be one of the best.
Oh yeah. He looks good. He looks good.
In flashes, he's not afraid to shoot the ball. He seems a little hot-headed. The only thing that I'm very concerned about is sometimes you see him and then boy, he be getting hot, and I'm like, it gets a little questionable. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be one of the better forwards this next season.
With Gustavo Bou out, right? I mean El Pantera, you have a whole bunch of goals to score. Who's going to score those goals?
That's true. But how is New England going to be, though? They went through the whole Bruce Arena thing that completely just put a dagger in the heart of New England. So can they bounce back immediately from that? Because things were looking rough there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, to bounce back without Boo, you have to find another superstar. I mean, Heel is a great player. I mean, he's always going to be in the thick of things. And I don't know if you guys noticed it, but Heel gets pretty mad out there. Like, he gets pretty pissed off. And then in Presters, he doesn't hold back. And I guess you want a guy like that. I mean, he really wants to win in MLS. So that's something that every team needs, right? Some fire. And I think with that fire, they're always going to be in it or they're going to be completely out of it. But I think it's going to be more of they're in it. I would say stock up for New England. I think if they, maybe get a little younger on their center back, on their center backs where, I think Farrell and Gonzalez playing, maybe, it's tough because you got to fit Miami somewhere in that playoff,
who drops out, right?
Right. Oh, it's tough. It's tough. And I think Charlotte's going to go up. I think Vargas, Savdursky, and Copetti are going to have better seasons. I think those three are going to have better seasons than last. But who do you drop out, right? So that's the biggest thing. I don't know. The East is so weird. The East is so weird.
Loaded. It's loaded.
Is it Philly though?
We're going in a rebuild too.
Don't bet against Jim Curtin, guys. That's all I'm saying. He can take nobodies and win.
This is the first time there's real question marks, though. Like this is the first time you could actually.
There were question marks when Brendan Aronson and Mark McKenzie left, and they're like, "How are they going to replace those guys? Like they've never had anybody else that's any good." And he got him better. I don't know. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt until he proves he can't win. I'm on his side for sure.
But it's funny because it's a Columbus Miami race, right? But then you have Cincinnati where it's like, we just won the Supporters Shield. What's going on? Like, and then
they hold on to everybody, man.
Right? So I don't know. Oh well, Vasquez might leave, right? Yeah, and it's gonna be Bupenza and Acosta kind of leading the lines there. So
don't forget Barriel.
Yeah, Barriel might leave too, though.
Yeah.
So that one's the one that everyone's kind of saying where
They
Barry
can hold on.
might leave.
But they're getting Miles Robinson.
Oh, good. Two USMNT hotheads. Yeah, baby.
It's a good
Referees have
combination.
no chance now.
Speaking of USMNT here, I'm gonna give you my under the radar pick, who I don't know, might not be under the radar, right? Colorado sucks, right? We get it. They were terrible. They didn't give Darren Yappy a chance. At some point, just throw the kid on the field, let him play a whole season. You're terrible anyway. And let's see what we get, because I think this kid could be really good, and I want to see him develop. Him and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. I'm like, just get them on the field. Your teams are terrible. You have one good asset. You need to play them. So both of those guys are my two under the radar guys that I hope will break out.
What I know this is a weird question, but Omir Fernandez is a guy who's going to get a lot more playing time now under Armas again. Is he like at an expensive price point right now? Like, because everybody kind of knows that, or is it more like?
Not really. He's pretty cheap. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of his. I've never have been really.
I've tried. I've tried to get
I
him.
think Jorge's a bigger fan than I am, but I never.
The thing
really
about
see
Omir
it.
Fernandez and like So Rare, which is funny enough, like sometimes like a player like on the pitch, you'll see him, he's like, oh, he's always involved, he's active, he's facilitating for the team. It doesn't always translate to So Rare sometimes with like the way the scoring is and like the way that passes are and missed passes and duels lost and won. So you would think, Omir Fernandez is like, oh, he should be a darling because he was so important for the Red Bulls this year. But like you look at his scores, you're like, why isn't he scoring better?
Yeah.
So this is a big one for me. I mean, in a lot of sports, you always go where the money is, right? Like, so if we're paying Griffin Dorsey a brand new contract, he's gonna be a mainstay in that roster and that starting 11. But Omir Fernandez, you got to remember, this was the youngest free agent of all time. So this is someone where he's also the first one to sign this offseason. He said, I'm going to play for Chris Armas. He's sold me on this Colorado, because I mean, we're talking about Colorado here. We're not talking about LA. They sold him a project for sure because he was the first free agent that was signed, if I'm not mistaken. And he's also the youngest free agent. So didn't even care about his other options. So that means they got big plans for him in Colorado, in my opinion.
We'll see if he can actually perform.
Yeah, right.
Can he replace Jack Price and Diego Rubio?
So like right now, Julian Gressel is heavily linked to Inter Miami. Do So Rare fans already know that? Like, would it be a valuable thing to just go buy him right now and then flip him in 2 weeks when they officially announce it?
See,
I mean,
dude, you got this.
Yeah, but
you got this.
Is it fair though? I don't think it's fair.
So that's his price chart right now. So
this
he
is
was down here.
Okay.
And then this was MLS Cup, right? And then
the Athletic
this is normal.
It's pretty high at the moment.
So you could see that people are already catching on. They're following the news. They're like, hey, this looks like a real deal. And they're already getting prepared.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah,
is he the new who is it? CJ Sapong that wants to play for every single team, or one of those?
Kai Kamara, man.
Kai Kamara. There we go. Yeah, is he the new Kai Kamara that's just going to play for every single MLS franchise before he retires? Like, man gets traded like twice a year.
Right.
Literally.
Started Atlanta, DC, Vancouver, Columbus, now Miami potentially. Like, he's making the rounds. He's not even that old.
Here's a question for you guys. Why wouldn't you just look at the biggest free agents right now, or when the list came out, just pick up those guys when they're free agents, and of course they're going to go to better situations, right? So a guy like Jonathan Mensah maybe wasn't getting the best playing time in San Jose, but if he goes to Atlanta, he takes that Miles Robinson spot. Why wouldn't you just do that every year, right?
You could to some degree, but a lot of it's baked in, right? Everybody kind of thinks that way. So everybody can go and look at the biggest free agents and go, we're going to take him. Now, Mensah specifically is dirt cheap.
It's because he's older, though.
Yeah, he's older. He hasn't been like very good in 2-3 years, but he was really good in Columbus, right? Yeah. He was really good back here, but it's been a while since he's really proven it. And I think people probably think he's lost a step. Also, youth is king because you're getting these guys for like multiple years. Right. So if he goes to Atlanta for 1 year, is it really worth it? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there is, to some degree, there is a lot of that. And you're kind of like, you're kind of like playing against everybody else in the market too, which is the fun part. Is you kind of have to be on him before everybody else is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but if you're playing So Rare, you already like soccer. You know the guy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're all diehards for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Hey, you better watch out though, because after this, if enough people watch, they're gonna start sliding into your DMs all the time and be like, "Yo, where's this guy going?" Or, "Hey, you have this news." And yeah, if you open up those floodgates to sober people, man, they will come for you.
Hey, look,
Also,
I'm not Tom Bogert. All right, Tom Bogert is a guy. So if you want to talk
Totally
soccer,
true.
sure, we'll talk soccer. But you want transfer rumors? I'm not Tom Bogert.
That's it. But like honestly, like while we're just kind of just like making the rounds, is there a lot of chatter about So Rare in MLS circles? Like, is it like known? Do people know what it is, whether they can play or not, or interested? Like, is the name actually floating around in conversations?
Well, I don't think I'm a fair example because I'm in the industry and I kind of know when players are like, oh yeah, like I talked to Tesho Akindele. I don't know if you guys have,
Yeah.
So Tesho was a good friend of mine. I used to work on a show with him. And he would talk about, all these little opportunities where So Rare, gives the player a one of a lifetime card. And he was telling me about So Rare back in the day. Yeah, of course I'm going to sign up for this, one of one card that I can sell later on for an X amount of dollars because it's an investment. And it kind of came out at the same time as NFTs and it was just everybody was in that crypto sphere. And I think if you're a FUT fan, if you like FIFA Ultimate Team, this is the next level, right? This is you graduated from the tutorial and let's go to the real big boy stuff. And what's funny is like I'm sitting here playing FIFA and I'm like, dude, like if I played So Rare and I knew where this guy was going, like that's wild. Like it's completely wild to me because people play off of this stuff. So no, I think I've heard about it a lot actually. Especially with the players. I know a lot of players that were like signing up for that one of one card, and then that's when I truly got an idea. And then I also have a friend who does So Rare where they take the headshots of all the players in Serie A. So
really?
Yeah, he's a cool guy. So he's out there doing that. But
nice.
Yeah. So I do have So Rare in my feed all the time, and I'm like, I always think about it. Like I said earlier, is it ethical? Is it not?
Well, I mean, they haven't told you no.
Right.
Yeah. No one said it explicitly, It's JVIC says he's sending you a referral link, and that's not happening. We're sending you our referral link. So get out of our space, JVIC. But no, it's so much fun. Like you get to play, you get to know these guys, you follow their careers, right? And then you're winning. You can win cash, you can win other players, you can win jerseys, you can win hats, you can win like MLS. So Rare sent us the MLS Cup, like once in a lifetime experience for us. Even though we went last year too, but once in a lifetime's experience. Going to Premier League games, going to Dutch games, going to Champions League games.
Right.
Like there's all kinds of like crazy like in real life experiences that they do that you guys over on the sidelines probably don't care as much about because you get to do it every day. But for like a general sports fan, it's incredible to be able to do some of the stuff that they have access to. It's awesome.
Well, trust me, every time. I mean, when I saw Columbus singing their hearts out, that really hit me. I mean,
it was so cool.
I was about to cry, man. I was like, dude, I do this here for a living. That's wild. I'm living a dream. So I'm always grateful for that. So I understand how So Rare can put you in those situations. And of course you're grateful, right? It's so cool. It's such a cool thing. And what's really cool about it is like all these players I just said probably have less than 10K followers on Instagram. So again, you really become, you help these guys get a fan base and you help these guys market themselves. And at the end of the day, shoot, if a player gets big on So Rare, maybe he gets a different opportunity with Adidas or with Body Armor or with a different clothing line because now they have more followers, right? So it's really hand in hand. I mean, it's intertwined. I think if a player blows up, like I said, you were talking about Thor. Today I followed Thor on Instagram because that boy Drippy, I'm going to tell you why. I was impressed. And I was thinking like, damn, this guy only has 2,000 followers on Instagram. Like,
no one knows about him. Yeah, it's crazy. And
I was like, dude, I mean, he comes in on and plays striker for Houston Dynamo, a team that made the semifinal, right? So I don't know. I just thought it was wild. And I think So Rare is doing a great job kind of highlighting these players and possibly giving these players another opportunity at more marketing deals because they have more fans and they have a bigger, kind of circle I would say.
We have one guy, one of our friends from Scotland. His name is Hoodwink on So Rare, and he's big fans of a guy. Is he Korean or Japanese in the Korean league? Do you know?
Cecina?
I think it's Korean league. Cecina. I think he plays for Daegu. I think they're in the Korean league.
Yeah.
But they're like best friends on social media, like actual
cool.
best friends. He's like talked to Cecinia's mom or something. Like it's wild. Like he signed stuff for him. It's great. It's like those like personal connections are so cool. And like it's a random dude from Scotland and a dude in Asia, right? Like it's like you never would have thought these guys would be friends, but Hoodwink had his card on So Rare, and he played so well and won so much stuff, and Hoodwink's a fan for life for sure now.
Well, it's like it's going to be interesting to see who or like what team or whatever like learns like about this system and leverages that for their own marketing, because they don't realize that there were a ton of people in Europe that didn't ever care about the MLS, never watched the MLS, had no reason to, and are now like big time fans. You know, they ran a contest where if you placed high or like #1 collectors of the Philadelphia Union just got a one-on-one, you know, Ask Me Anything with Andre Blake, and it's on YouTube. And like, you can go look it up. It's on their YouTube. And it was like, it's Fede from like Germany. There was a guy from France, like all these guys that are giant Andre Blake fans because they had his goalkeeper card and they like won him stuff. And like, there's so much leverage to be had to grow your fan base more than just the people that live in your hometown. That whoever finds it out, discovers it, and exploits it first is going to be happy they did. Because there's something here, and So Rare's found a way to literally connect fans to clubs on a deeper level. It's cool.
Yeah, and I think players can do a little better job too, right? So it's like I think a lot of players need to have a bigger social media presence. And I talked to Tesho about this like a couple of years ago too, and I was just like, hey, Andre, you know what's funny is I actually saw Andre Blake's post about it. You know, hey guys, I'm going on YouTube with So Rare, and I thought that was so cool because that's the first Andre Blake post I've ever seen, you know? So it was obviously a big thing, a big deal. So I don't know, like if you're a guy like Thor, why don't you reach out to So Rare and be like, hey, let's do something, you know, let's do some, or I mean, see, maybe it's a little more with agents then, like agents need to know a little bit more about So Rare, and that's going to kind of come with time. But I mean, everybody loves Ultimate Team. Everybody likes Ultimate Team, right? So why not just do it real life? You know, why not do real life Ultimate Team?
Exactly. Yeah, I think Javik had the best comment here. If you want to put it up there.
Which one?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's in now.
He's totally sucked in. He's gonna be an account. We're gonna get friend requests.
I've always wanted to play. I just don't know if it's ethical, you know. So
we're gonna get a DM, be like, "Yo, should I buy this guy? Is it a good purchase?" Like,
Don's gonna call me up straight up, man. Hey, you can't play this. You can't do this.
Man, Don, after last Friday, you're not going to let me do this now. Come on, man. Let us have some fun.
No,
oh my God.
It's a fun game, and I'm glad, you know, this is Apple TV kind of went hand in hand with this too. Yeah. Right. So people in Europe can now watch MLS if they want to, right? So I don't know. I think people are a little too crazy about the price point. I think games could be a little more spread out. I think I think they are this year. So we'll see them kind of be a little more spread out so you can watch more games.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute blast. You're welcome back anytime. We're always down to talk more footy. But yeah, thanks for coming on the pod.
No, the pleasure is all mine, guys. I had a blast. I mean, shoot, I didn't even realize we were talking for an hour and 20 minutes. I was ready to go 3.
Yeah, right?
This happens every week. We're like, we've got to keep it to like 45 minutes. And then it goes like an hour and a half. And it's like, oh, well, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I had a blast. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It's a pleasure of mine. And who knows, maybe I start writing for SBI about So Rare guys, right?
Oh,
so
there you go.
You know,
I'm telling you, he's gonna slide in our DMs asking us questions.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, this guy's good. Should I buy him now? Yeah.
But before we go, where can people find you? Do you have anything going on? Anything you want to promote real quick? Any links?
New job, my guy.
Yeah. I mean, I got a new gig at SBI Soccer. Plenty of good writers have gone through that system, and I'm excited to be a part of the team. Yeah, I mean, look out for my content on SBI Soccer, and then you can find me at Favian Renkel. If you're on Threads, this one's a big one. Ooh. I'm on Threads, and I post MLS news on Threads all the time. So there's only a couple of us, like Joe Lowry and Ben Wright. We post a lot on Threads, and
a little alpha for you guys.
Take that, Tommy Scoops.
Now Tommy Scoops is on there too.
Oh no, Scoops.
But
He's everywhere.
yeah, Scoops is inevitable. All right, he's gonna be the first to drop the news, and he's always gonna do it. Shout out to Tommy. He's a good guy. But yeah, Threads. If you're on Threads, I'm at I am Favian Renkel. So same thing, but I had to shout out Becky G. I am Becky G. So
Well,
there you go.
there it is. There you have it. X is dead. It's all about Threads now. Peace.
Oh, wait.